Welcome back, y'all. So much more to say. Okay. As a therapist myself, being in a position where I'm in the people business. Okay. But last time we were talking about being a coach. Okay. Being a coach. And now victims, consumers of Kendra have come out to share their story. Now, I want to have conversations about this from perspective of a therapist, you guys as clients, people seeking services. What is the difference between a therapist and a psychologist? Because I think people don't understand there's a difference in the services that we provide. But first, y'all know what y'all came to do. Hit that like, subscribe, join the community. But let's get straight into it because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about. So let's just get in now. Emily is somebody who saw Kendra for services related to ADHD. I'm gonna give a little bit of a background. Um, she was in a hard place in her life. She was trying to become sober, become a better person, and she sought out Kendra for services. And she says how a lot of things she's seeing now online with her is all starting to make sense about her own personal experience. So I want to talk about life coaching and how unregulated it is as a service, as a business, and how it fundamentally can really harm people because you're not educated and you open up sometimes a can of worms, trauma, and you don't know how to really hold space. You don't really know how to help people. So let's get into, Emily's story. Okay. Who the fuck did I hire?
The hell I was friends with and let coach me and take advantage of me at like a really vulnerable time in my life. Okay, so like I mentioned, you can like scrub through my last video and see like the screenshot of the text between us. But basically I had like reached out to her for help with sobriety and she said, great, let's hop on Zoom and have a conversation about it. So we did a few days later, and this was like in March earlier this year. And we like talk about like what prompted me to want to go sober and just kind of like her experience with sobriety and everything. And she then starts the pitch of like, I do think like it'd be really great if we like didn't just talk as friends, like if we really worked on this together in a coaching relationship. And that like this is really crazy that like I've been brought to her, and like this must be like divine intervention that we're like coming back into each other's lives and everything. And I was like, yeah, like I think it could be great, but I still just like need a little bit of time to think about it because like again, a lot of stuff was going on with me at the time. And she said, well, normally it is like ADHD coaching, but like I'm more than happy to do like sobriety coaching with you. I've already sent.
How many of y'all have gone to somebody for a service and they say it's divine intervention? How many times have I heard that? It's the universe, astrology, bring us together. Okay. Not to mention, this woman was in a very vulnerable state. I am trying to seek service. I am trying to find support. And it feels like, just like Kendra is alluding to, feeling as though her psychiatrist, and from what I hear, her therapist, she feels like they were kind of predatory and exploiting her mental health and taking advantage of her. It's the same thing happening here. Okay. No, Kendra was not even, somebody on her TikTok doesn't even show that she's someone in the field of helping people become sober, being in sobriety, but yet you still took on someone you didn't really have experience really, kind of in that field. Not to mention we're friends. I am a person who believes you should never get into business within this type of service, helping someone with the service, mentally providing support. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it.
sent you the invoice and the contract to sign. And I said, I really would like to think about it. And she's like, now's the time. Don't think, just do. Like, you won't regret doing it. So I see the invoice, and the invoice is for $3,000 for 3 months.
Did she just say $3,000 for 3 months? 1,000 a G a month? A G a month. You're not licensed. You're not a doctor. You didn't go to school. $1,000 a month, not to mention the red flags of sign the paperwork now, girl. Sign it now. Today, right now. You don't even think about it because you know me. You know I'm good for it.
And these are going to be like once a week, 45-minute long sessions. And I, just got really caught up in the moment. And I said, you know what? And I was really desperate. I think that's like a key thing. I was really desperate. And I did. I signed the contract and I tried to pay. And my card wouldn't go through because it was like an unknown vendor through Stripe. And my bank was like, we're not going to authorize this payment. And I was like,
That was God.
oh, well, it won't go through. It's Friday night. Like, I'll just call in the morning and like get it sorted out. And she's like, I really want you to do it right now. Call your bank right now and I'll like stay on the phone with you.
Damn.
So we're like on Zoom and I'm like calling my bank and I tried for like 30 minutes and none of it was working.
Damn.
And eventually I was just like, okay, I'm like, it's not working. I'm just going to have to try again in the morning. And I don't know why I felt like I was being held hostage. I was in my home office. I was on Zoom. I could have just like hung up the call. And I honestly wish I did. But again, I was just like at a really low point and kept going. And that's on me. And I soon learned to regret it. So, yeah, I guess in the next part, I'll talk about like what our coaching was look like. And then in the fourth part, I'll do like how we ended.
Hostage, huh? Hostage, huh? Didn't we hear that somewhere else? Stayed on the phone with her bank. And unfortunately, there were a lot of red flags that she ignored. I think because of trust. I know this person. They're trying to help me. But somebody out there was no decline the card, no decline. That was intervention trying to help her escape this situation. There were red flags, but I want to talk about the trust level. When you have trust in someone, you will buy into anything because there's trust. Trust to me is something you really can't put a price on. It's invaluable because when someone trusts you, you can use it for good, you can use it for bad. Just like me as a therapist, I can use it for good, I can use it for bad. There are lots of great therapists out there, and there are therapists who are not so great, who take advantage of clients. But I want you guys to think about trust, the trust you put into providers for services, and how you were in a vulnerable state, picking up the phone to call somebody for help. And already you're establishing trust on the phone or through that email. You're developing trust by sending me the email saying, hey, I've been going through some depression. I don't work on my mother issues. Trigger warning, trigger warning. I was sexually assaulted as a child. You're already planting the foundation of, oh, you're a therapist, so I can trust you. You're a psychiatrist, I can trust you. People come into session, even before the session, like I said, on through the email, through the phone call. People are trusting us. And though, this person, this woman was not a therapist, for this situation was, you're my friend. I know you. The trust was in the established relationship that we are friends. But sometimes friends don't want the best for you. They want the best for themselves. Self-preservation, self-motivation. Yeah. Being on the phone with her though, with the bank, that's grimy. That's grimy. Wow. Yeah, her card not going through was something right there. Yes, sponsors are free. The 12 steps mean paying it forward. But the thing is, a little bit of a tangent. AA, NA, there's so much like stigma around it. that I think people would rather work with a coach than walk into an AA meeting, walk into an NA meeting because of the stigma. And maybe it was that. Like, I want help. I want to become, sober. Even though you don't have experience in that, I know you, and I'm just looking for support. I'm just looking for help. Yeah, her trying to coach a friend. Even for me as a therapist, when people, friends come to me for advice, I feel stuck because I'm like, I don't know how to answer and provide support as a friend because the therapist part of me is just ingrained. Sometimes when my friends are talking about things that they're going through with family, relationships, I have to ask myself sometimes, what do regular people say? I, I, I don't have the regular in me because I've been a therapist for almost 20 years. So the advice you're going to get from me is just ingrained in me to come out as a therapist. Because my friends, people around me say, like, you just be saying stuff sometimes and you don't even realize it's therapy. I'm like, I don't. I really don't. I don't. I was at a barbecue last weekend and something came up with a friend, and I'm just standing there listening. And later on, someone was like, the way you just provided space for so and so to just kind of vent and process what they're going through with their relationship. I'm like, I did that. I was just standing there waiting for my plate. I was just standing there while he lit the grill. I didn't know I was providing a safe space for him to vent. It's just ingrained in me. So when people ask me for advice, I try and, ask myself, what do regular people say? But then also, do you want me to come at you from a friend or do you want the therapist part of me to come out? Which one you want? Okay, which one you want? Okay. But yeah, y'all being friends in this is not mm, mm.
Okay, so yes, I did just pay $3,000 for her. So this is mid-March. And I will say, like, at the beginning, a lot of the tech I talked about for sobriety, like, was really useful. And I am glad that, like, at that really low point, I did have someone who, like, was for all intents and purposes, like, on my team. Where it started getting weird is, like, when I did my intake form, she did mention something about, like, human design. And I'd never heard about human design. And I genuinely thought that it was going to be like some sort of like psychology thing, or just kind of talking about how like we're like naturally inclined to like drink and like have addictive personalities. And boy, was I wrong. Human design is like similar to astrology. It uses your birth chart and it tells you like what kind of type you are. And if I had to guess, I don't really buy into human design, if I'm going to be 100%. After 3 months of learning about it, I'm not into it. And that is like mainly what drove our coaching.
So this is another thing. I don't know anything about human design, but it brings up to me how you can experience something from the wrong person and have this mindset about it forever now. Okay. What if the way that the coaching was explained and this human design thing was told to her by the wrong person? And so now she has this thought in her mind that I just don't believe in it. When it was told and taught to her wrong. Okay. The same thing can go along with therapy. Someone can come to me for EMDR therapy and I can teach it to them wrong. And so now they have this thought process of like, yeah, I went to therapy. I tried that thing with the eyes. It's a bunch of bullshit. Okay. I don't believe in it. When really it could have just been the provider was not great. Okay. The provider was not great.
Was human design. And if I do believe that's like what a lot of her ADHD coaching is like talking about your human design. So
ADHD coaching.
She does my chart and it comes to find out that like I'm in like the 1% of people. I'm a reflector, which I guess is like the finger of God. And she kept talking about how like I'm the finger of God. That would come up like all throughout like the 3 months that we were talking. It's just like, I'm the finger of God. And when this like reckoning happens in 2027 and the new world order comes through, that like I'm going to be one of the people who's like really leading it. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I don't really know how this is like relevant to sobriety.
No.
And that is truthfully like when I started to check out. It was probably like a month and a half into our session. So it's like mid-May at this point. She was also out of town for part of it. So like we started sessions like early April. April was fine. May it started to get weird. And the rest of the sessions in June, I just like hated it. All we would talk about is like human design, but we wouldn't even really like talk about it and discuss it. She would just like read from this book and talk about like the guru or like the guy who like came up with human design.
Where was the sobriety coaching? Where was the ADHD tools? It sounds like it was a bunch of like psycho babble, astrology. The world is coming to an end. Like, now that I'm kind of thinking about this, it kind of seems like at this point, maybe she started to go through some kind of episode. Like she was experiencing services from someone kind of going through some kind of break. And it's sad because the outside regular people may just think of it like, okay, girl, what you talking about not really making sense. But as a mental health provider, you might see the signs of like, oh, girl, you having an episode. We gotta talk about that. We gotta do something about that. But innocent people who come for services don't know, don't have the feedback. And once again, we go back to trust. I am trusting that you're going to help me. I am trusting that you know what you're going to do, what you're doing. Plus, I just gave you $3,000. Okay. The trust is there. So as you are kind of like, this not really making sense, but okay. You say what you know what you're doing, girl. So I'm gonna just keep kind of going, but you start gaslighting yourself.
And it was just like, it was weird and bizarre. And I didn't like it. And it also just like wasn't helpful at all. So I like basically started to check out, and like luckily our sessions were like starting to come to an end, which like thank God, because in June is when it got really fucking weird. And this is when Chat GPT came into the picture. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about Chat GPT.
Okay, girl.
Okay, so we're now getting to the part of coaching with Kendra, part 4, whatever. I don't know where I am in this, but basically, I'm heated right now. Basically, I start disengaging in our sessions, and I think she's really picking up on it. And she's just like reading me all this shit about human design. And then she also starts doing this thing with cognitive behavioral therapy, which I am familiar with CBT.
CBT, the worst of the worst, y'all. CBT.
She is not licensed to do CBT. And when we first started our sessions, she like made sure to like reiterate that like she wasn't a licensed therapist and therefore like isn't going to do things like that. And then turned around months later and started doing cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is also when she started talking about Henry, aka Chat GPT.
Oh,
and
geez.
I'm not very like, I use artificial intelligence at work, like it's very encouraged. So like I'm very familiar with like what these language learning models are like. And I know that like you can't just like start asking it random shit about yourself, like at all. That is how spiritual psychosis happens. And truthfully, that might just be what's happening at this point. So she's like encouraging me to use Chat GPT for cognitive behavioral therapy, which is super dangerous. And
can we stop using Chat GTP for therapy, y'all? It's always when people come to me and they have named. Oh yeah, me and LaQuisha last night were talking about my relationship. Girl, who is LaQuisha? Oh, it's Chat GTP. It is so dangerous to be talking to a machine. Something that's not even real. I personally do not think that AI can ever replace me. It is so dangerous for people to be using that as a way to heal themselves. And I've heard the rhetoric. I went to therapy. I had too many bad therapists, so I stopped going. It's not affordable. I can barely pay my rent. It's the next best option. It's not. It's not. This is not a licensed professional. Not to mention, I would kind of be wondering, what is Henry, doing with all the information that it's gathering on you? Do people think about that? Open AI, what is it doing with all the information you're telling them about your mental health, your psychosis, your relationship? Don't do it, y'all. Don't do it. And for her to be telling somebody, oh, just use ChatGPT, probably because she has been doing it. It's just not, this whole thing was a mess. And I'm wondering about all the other people who have come out, and started their own, like, I survived Kendra. I survived Kendra. The field of coaching is not regulated. I have not heard her say anything where they were actually discussing being sober, ADHD functioning, low functioning, daily tips, suggestions, creating systems, list. None of it. None of it. And if this was in June, because as we are kind of seeing, I feel like Kendra in some ways, is having her own, like, maybe a psychotic break. And is going through some psychosis herself. Oh, she live right now. Oh, let me see what she talked about on her live. Even though I don't want to. Definitely the session where he let me talk about intimate stuff for 30 minutes straight. That was terrible. And when I would tell him over and over again that I had a crush on him and he wouldn't do anything about it. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song or album? Favorite album is probably Midnight. With the glitter on her face. Honestly, because that album was the album that turned me into a Swiftie. I'm like a later Swiftie. I didn't turn into a Swiftie until I was 34 years old. And Taylor and I were both born in 1989, by the way. Okay. Another scary thing about this? It's feeding her ego. It's feeding the psychosis. It's feeding all of it, the attention. And some people might feel like she is using social media to get attention from her psychiatrist. Okay. Hey, you won't talk to me. You won't respond to my phone calls. You won't respond to my emails. I'm going to take it to the internet. And it was something else I was thinking, but she just said how it wasn't right for him to let her talk about her intimate relationships for 30 minutes. You know how many times I've had sessions with people when they talk about their intimate relationships and I don't want to hear it? Or I don't feel like it's, it's adding to the conversation or it's adding to your healing process. But it's my job to listen. And some people go into more detail. Some people go into less. But who am I to say, as you're talking about your intimate relationships, don't stop. Don't talk about that. How off-putting would it be for me as a therapist to be like, you know what? I don't want to hear that. Or I don't need to hear that. We create safe spaces where people are supposed to be able to talk about whatever it is they need to talk about, process, and release. So it's really not my job to come and say, you know what? Stop talking about that.
So it's St. Peter, because he's got the keys. What could he say to you to make you change your mind? He could say, he could explain his actions. He could explain why he never helped me understand countertransference and transference and why I had to learn about it from ChatGPT when that was on him with the clinical training. Where's your AI tonight? She's resting. Henry's on strike. I don't know what's going on with Henry. Yeah, I wear glitter. How many people were you paying? Oh, who? Okay. Let me.
Where are her friends? Where's her family?
Someone's trolling me.
Y'all, Henry, the ChatGTP therapist.
Let me see. All right.
How much money is she making off this live? Wow, there are so many people in here. It's kind of sad. Somebody said they want a room tour.
Do you believe in Helen Keller? What do your family and friends think of this TikTok stuff? They're worried about me, but they understand. They're very supportive.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Do you have multiple phones? No, I stream on my iPad and I have my phone. Pull a tarot card. Say less.
Her family and friends are probably texting her ass to get off the live.
Should I do it for the collective or for me? We're going to pull one for me.
And so my question is, as somebody on the outside, or I'll say the inside, family, friends, what does intervention look like in this situation? Is it possible to intervene? Have you already talked so much? Have you tried that at this point, we're going to love her no matter what? We're going to provide her with unconditional support. Because so many people have had family members who are going through psychosis, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, toxic relationships, DV relationships. I want to know from you guys, what does it look like to provide a family member with support who doesn't want help? Who doesn't feel like they have a problem? Because this is a problem. This is a problem.
If you had the right insurance policy, would you still see him? Probably. I probably would have stayed a long time. I tell that part of the story because I was so obsessed with him that I probably would have stayed in that dynamic forever. It was really my change in insurance and my change towards taking my the step towards me that really helped.
Her insurance was his way out. Like I said, even if he had tried to transfer her out, she would not
Wheel
leave.
Of Fortune.
So those of you who have been in my comments saying,
the Wheel of Fortune, everybody.
He should have just let her go. He should have referred her out. She's obsessed with him. she would not have walked away. And for some reason, something happened with her insurance. And that was his only way out, is that he didn't take her insurance anymore. But she says, I would have stayed with him forever. And sometimes when people are not getting the attention directly from the person, they will figure out other ways to get the attention. And I think that's what she's doing, is figuring out another way to get his attention. I don't really know, like, where does this end? Where does it stop? How does this end? This to me looks like some high functioning, some type of episode, possibly a personality disorder. But I'm not her psychiatrist, so I can't diagnose her, but it's some kind of episode. And I don't know how it really ends. Because I think the live is only helping her spiral more by people liking. She almost got 100,000 likes on here, y'all. That's crazy. It showed you also the power of social media and relatability. People probably relate to her story.
Would you write a book? I have written a book. It's called Self-Empowerment for ADHDers. It's going to come out at the beginning of next year. What's your big three? Let's pull up the chart, huh?
And the sad thing is that some people have already been able to identify the psychiatrist, even though his name is not completely out there. I haven't seen it. But from what in my comments, y'all told me she gave out some pre-identifying things. You know, the internet sleuths. They will figure it out, girl. They will figure it out. But this is pretty scary. She admits to being obsessed with him. There's no like shame about it.
Where are your friends at? They're around.
No shame.
Unblock you? Am I? You're not blocked. I would really like to know about projectors, please, Kendra. Yeah, so projectors are here to guide others. We're here to guide others. We're one-on-one people. We're very intense.
And people are asking her to name his private practice in the comments. This is so dangerous. So dangerous. Oh, they're saying somebody doxed her. But I want to know from you guys, do you see this ending? Do you see this ending? And how social media is really playing a large part into this continuing. Does it get better? And will this open the doors for other people to do the same thing? Okay. So much privilege here. But I want to know you guys' thoughts. I'm not about to sit here on her live and feed into this and make her no more money. Okay. But I want to know you guys' thoughts. Where do we go from here? As a friend, what do you say? As a family member, what do you say when they don't want help? You see it, okay? You see it. But as a therapist myself, I have a lot of this things I need to reflect upon. Like, do I need to change some things that I'm doing in therapy, that I'm saying? information that I'm sharing on the internet, you know. But of course, hit that like, subscribe to the video. Okay? Come into the chat where you're watching from. If you got this far in the video, you know, just put some purple hearts in the chat. Okay? And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.